Ah! Boom. And my camera's not great today, but I really don't want to turn on my spotlight. I don't want to do my ring light, you know? It's just annoying to use. It's like really bright. Salam alaikum, bro. Alaikum assalam, my friend. How's everybody doing tonight? I kind of started, like, I didn't really do, like, the whole intro thing because it's just kind of like whatever and really need to. Justin coming through for the Filioque? No idea. And if he doesn't, I'm going to do reviews today, probably, you know? Celebrating 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that's something that happened, and I'm really excited. You know, I'm really happy that I was able to get to 2K on YouTube now. Bryce J. Catholic 2027. That's hilarious. That's quite funny. Is the father logically prior to the son? Sure. Nothing wrong with that. I got my cable too today because I forgot to charge my headphones. You know. Alright, let me go ahead and turn on these because they're better for the stream. They're calmer, don't have lyrics. Soon I will also reach 2K. Amen, dude. Happy to hear it. I need to get a blanket or something, man. It is so cold in my basement. It's insane. Dude, I'm so mad because Jesusandwhatnot, the Catholic dude, he had a video out that was called Eastern Orthodoxy Refuted or whatever, and it's like refuting their heretical pagan doctrine or something. And he deleted it before I could watch it, bro. I was gonna do a thing. I was gonna do like a review on stream to see if he was gonna single-handedly ruin everything. You know, from me, my faith was gonna disappear. You know. Juju recommended the book Logic and Structure to me. Ordered it. What do you think? That's a good book. I also recommend For All X. Really good formal logic book. Very good formal logic book. The For All X is fantastic. Really good introduction, but also includes some higher stuff as well. I don't do formal logic too much, but it allows me to at least understand what those spurgs are talking about half the time. But you bought the minoxidil I linked you? No, I haven't bought the specific one. I need to. I need to get it. I feel like if I actually just like dedicate to minoxidil, I bet that like I could probably make a change to the hairline, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. Nominalist logic is good logic. I mean, for all X, are you talking about like formal logic? Like what do you mean? It's just a book on how to do it. There's no StreamYard link, my friend. This is a TikTok stream. Rogaine works best. Isn't that expensive? I feel like that shit's expensive, bro. According to the scholastics, the modern logicians are nominalist. I mean, yeah, to a degree, I could see that. I could definitely see how they could come to the conclusion that they are nominalist. Bryce, did you see Rabbi Talon get cooked by Jay? I did not. Interesting. Is that online? I would like to see that. So Talon,
right.
Talon debated Jay Dyer? When am I getting the EED article? Bro, I already got like 3 of them that you can already have until I can make new ones, bro. I got like a bunch of stuff going on. But I already have like 3 of them that I could already give you. You know what I'm saying? If you want to put it on the site. Lewis's story? Okay. Send then, please. Absolutely. I shall. Alright, let's see if I can find it here. Oh, that was loud. Hold on.
Yeah, no.
Oh, here we go. Let's see what happens. Coming by the end of the month. Amazing. It's up on Jay's channel. Oh, okay, let me just go to that, dude. Oh, is this what he did like 2 hours ago? What's the timestamp on that Zen? I'm interested. Hey Bryce, in what way are the persons identical to the essence? Materially. They're of the same res, or of the same thing. That's the method by which they're identical. It's like last 10 minutes. Okay. Here we go.
Say you don't accept Shiadi.
Oh, here we go. Oh boy.
Means that there can't be an institutional. In other words, it would mean to deny the. I don't know about this incident.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. So,
Christians falling away for the second century, all the way for 1400 years, is not Satan prevailing, because if Satan had prevailed, the church would have been gone for forever. Well, but Jesus says that the gates of hell prevailing against the church.
How you been, bro? Been ages. Cade, man, it's been forever since you and I have talked. I've been good. Streams have been going great. Numbers are doing good. You know? Watch it on my YouTube. I mean, I already got it right here. Better quality audio. All right. You convinced me. I don't even think it's Rabbi. Yeah, it is. Okay. Watch Jay Dyer get destroyed and then run away from the debate.
That's fine. So, Dominus of Antioch.
Oh boy. I can't wait to watch. Oh, sorry. I just revealed that I wasn't subbed to you. My bad, bro. I subbed, I swear. I just did it. I promise. All right. Now, I will say this off rip. Jay does not do too hot on papacy stuff, at least just what it seems. Like, he normally doesn't address the things that are directly connected to the topic. I'm kind of hoping that he sticks with that, because he kind of normally just like goes straight into like Alexandria document or like the Vatican II, Vatican I stuff. But I would like to see if he like kind of like addresses something, because I can kind of think probably what this is going to be, and I'm really hoping that everything goes well. But I heard that this was a nightmare, so I'm about to find out. You know,
Antioch at 449 was deposed and replaced by Maximus of Antioch.
Okay, it's the session 10 argument with Maximus.
And Maximus of Antioch was an illicit bishop because he had been unlawfully consecrated.
Mm-hmm.
But Leo accepted his bishopric before the council, and he was considered a legitimate bishop. So the argument is this: if Leo has the authority,
but keep him so he can learn. What are you talking about? Oh, Farax is a blasphemer. I know.
To determine
I know
who
he is
bishop, and this just isn't my words. This is the words of Saint Anatolius of Constantinople in the 10th session. By the way, you can go in the 10th session. Anatolius says this because he says that Maximus of Antioch was restored by Leo to his see, and that it is for the council to generally put this in the minutes, for it can be, because the officials told him to put everything in the minutes.
Okay, so the official thing that I actually learned about this topic, and I want to say this real quick, because the last time that I debated about this, I made it way too complicated. Like, I made it way too complicated last time that I debated about this topic. Okay? I talked a lot with Demetrius and Pedro, and it actually is a much more simple matter than it was, than it seems, I guess. Okay? So, Bryce, pull up. What are you talking about? I'm on my own stream right now. I'm streaming at the time appointed. But the actual thing that addresses this kind of from the Orthodox perspective is that if you actually look at all of the patriarchs and all of the bishops, they already were in communion with Maximus prior to St. Leo accepting him into communion in the first place. By 49, I'm sorry. By 449, they were already accepting with him, and Leo didn't accept him in until the summer prior to Chalcedon. So it's actually not really it's kind of just like a waving type argument. It's not really that crazy. That's kind of why I didn't really bring it up to address it when I debated Talon, because he didn't bring it up. That's why I actually cut my that was why I cut my opening a little bit, because in his opening he didn't address the thing regarding session 10, so I just felt like it wasn't even really worth arguing. So I never addressed it, but that's pretty much all it is. He was already in communion with, or Maximus was already in communion with everybody prior to Leo even accepting him into communion. So it's kind of just like, okay, I mean, it's literally just a good, you can hand wave it literally. It's just like, I mean, so what? Even if he accepted him, like he was already in communion with everyone else prior to that. But anyway, I don't know what Jay's gonna say about that. I had to do a lot of learning and studying to figure that out. I don't know how much Jay's probably heard about this argument before, so I'm going to find out.
Oh, how is it that Leo can have the authority that this bishop to be considered a valid and a licit bishop? And we see that he was a valid bishop within the second and third session, because in the second session, his name is in the proceedings of the councils, which only...
Bryce, why not go for Vatican II? Well, because I think that there's better things to address. Like, in my personal opinion, like as an Orthodox Christian who's recently getting invested into like papacy argumentation, I think that just going to attack Vatican II is going to get you nowhere. Because most of them hold to the position that like most of the shit in that council is not dogmatic. So they can like, they literally don't have like, I will give credit where credit's due. Like they have a very easy way out of trying to make a council contradiction argument, like Vatican I, Vatican II, showing how they contradict each other. It really doesn't matter. We're watching Talon versus Jay Dyer, Dom. But the whole like, just you meant like if Talon mentions something, or like any Catholic like mentions something that happened in the first millennia, and I want that to be addressed, and then like you run to like, oh, but Vatican II, blah blah blah. Like, bro, it doesn't matter. Like the argument stays where the argument is. Okay. So I do want to preface that before I start this, is that like I do think that just immediately going to like Vatican II, like, and this is me trying to be like in my review mode, not in like my Orthodox mode, if that makes sense. I'm trying to do this in debate review mode, where I think that if somebody makes an argument that's outside of the scope of what the original claim is, I think it's weird. Majority of RC theologians say if a pope is a heretic, they are no more pope. Yeah. Talon said that God will just kill the pope, so it's fine.
Guess what? Bishops in the third session, he took part in the deposition of Maximus of Antioch by judging them, which only bishops do, which would mean before the 10th session, the council admitted papal supremacy by accepting Maximus of Antioch into the
That
council.
doesn't prove your position of
There is a reason why, because I did wonder this, why that there's not very any books that actually make arguments like this. And like the most famous RC theologians don't really make arguments like this. It's actually a very easy thing to get around. Like this is actually a pretty simple explanation that I already gave earlier.
papal supremacy.
That's the reason why this seems like it's such a unique argument. You know, when people out of nowhere started using this session 10 problem.
All it proves is what paragraph 19 of Chieti says about appeals in Sardica.
Did he just mention Chieti already?
That you can appeal outside of your jurisdiction to other sees. And appeals were also made to Constantinople. So I don't see how this proves Vatican I's claim. It proves a first among equals Sardica style appeals process.
Okay, so he's going to appeal the Sardican canons then. And that's fine. It's a lot simpler than that, but I mean, like, this is definitely a route you can take if you want to just actually concede that St. Leo appointed Maximus.
No, because Sardica says that when the Bishop of Rome is going to do something, he has to do it in a collegial matter. In the Sardican
That's not all it says. It says that it says he can order a retrial, right?
Read Canon 5.
Read Canon 5, bro. Trust me, bro. Read Canon 5, bro. Trust me, bro. It's just the way that he said that. It's just like, bro, read the canon, bro. Read Canon 5.
Well, I'm talking about what your papacy says.
Let's read Canon 5 before it continues. We're reacting to Rabbi Talon versus Jay Dyer. Council of Sardica. Canon 5. I don't want to read all that. That's too long.
Does about Sardica.
And I'm telling you, because you appeal to the Sardican canons, and I'm telling you.
Did you review Justin's vid? I called him out to have a discussion about it, but I mean, I'm probably just going to end up doing a review and then just debunking it instead.
Canon 5. It says in Canon 5 that the Bishop of Rome is to gather the nearest bishops to him and review the case. Right.
It says also that he can order a retrial. So I know what 5 says, but I'm pointing out that he can also order a retrial, right?
Okay.
Which it's fine if he doesn't come up. I'm not going to say that he's running if he's not going to come up here. I mean, me and Justin have debated about the Filioque like 10 times already. So like, I don't expect him to like constantly come up here every time that he makes an argument. But I will address the argument because I do understand what Justin's trying to get across, if that makes sense. But you guys don't have to spam him and tell him to come up here. If he wants to come up here, he can. But at the same time, me and him debated like many times about the Filioque already, and I don't expect him to have to come up here every time he makes an argument.
Which is fine because
but he's more than welcome to if he wants.
Reflect the universal.
Oh, you'll see Kata if he comes up here. I'll show a video if he doesn't.
Jurisdiction of the Pope. It doesn't grant.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Why does your papacy admit that Sardica doesn't teach universal?
Wait, hold on. We're not talking about the Chieti documents because even
because you don't want to go there because it admits my position.
Okay. Like I get the Chieti argument. I get that argument, right? Like I understand the point of it. But the Chieti document in of itself doesn't directly purport to this issue here. Right? You have to remember that papists, when they're trying to prove the papacy, they're not trying to prove things that have Vatican II language in it. They're trying to prove what Vatican I declares in the first millennia. So if they're trying to show Vatican I in the first millennia, because that's like 99% of their apologetics is justifying the infallibility and the supremacy and things like that. Not what Vatican II is talking about. It's just not. And so like going to like the modern concessions of like some popes where like they'll say things that seem to be more, how do you say this? Is he running the SCOTUS arc? Not really. Not exactly. It's not exactly the SCOTUS arc. No. It's different. It's slightly different.
Just for an example, I can appeal.
It admits my position. Why does your papacy admit that Sardica doesn't teach that?
Check Discord.
Why does your papacy admit that?
Hold on. Why did your Eastern papacy?
Why does your papacy admit that? So you're not going to answer this question.
Because the Orthodox, because your church said that that's not our official position. That's what your church said.
Why does your papacy say that Sardica doesn't prove universal jurisdiction?
That's not what my papacy says.
It says it.
Yeah, no, Talon, I heard about that. I did hear about the how like because that was an interfaith or not interfaith. That's probably the wrong word. That was an interdenominational document that was designed for basically people to try to come to some kind of general, hey, you're not so bad. Hey, you're not so bad. Which in of itself, it could be a problem, right? It could be a problem with ecumenism. But the East does concede that the document is not binding too. Like obviously Eastern Orthodoxy affirms it, that it's not binding, and then even says that it's not binding on Roman Catholics either, which is whatever, you know. I mean, it's like whatever.
But right here, paragraph.
Veritas wants to come up. Okay. What's up, man? Hello.
Search up the YouTube channel Missionary Skeptic on YouTube. Search it up, boys.
There's no way that Yakov is disguising himself now as Veritas, bro. Are you kidding me? I thought Critical Thomas wanted to talk, bro. I was like, hey. I thought Critical Thomas wanted to have a convo. Damn, man, he got me. Yakov got me again.
Paragraph 19 of Chieti.
I don't think that the Chieti documents are actually historically reliable.
Okay. So you.
Yeah, you can go on Missionary Skeptic, by the way, and you can go see the conversation I had with Yakov. That's what he's trying to get
better than the papacy now.
I'll tell you guys to go watch it. I don't care.
Matters in fact. There's no issue.
So hold on. How do you know when the Pope is erring? How do you know when the Pope is erring? How do you know when the Pope is erring?
Can you adjust the argument of Maximus?
How do you know when the Pope is erring? You made a strong claim there.
Because we're
I think he's going into just like a general epistemic thing now,
talking about Maximus and
which is fine. I just don't think it's like really, it's not really pertinent to what Rabbi Talon brought.
Antioch.
How do you know when the Pope is erring?
So honestly,
epistemically,
like because we're talking about Chalcedon here. I don't care about
epistemically. No, well, I'm asking a different question. I'm asking an
So if
epistemic
you're not going
question.
to answer the question,
I'm asking
then
you an epistemic
running,
question
you're
about in your system how
Like,
you
why are
know
you
when
running?
to identify
So-
the Pope as erring.
So just answer this simple critique.
When in your
Eastern Orthodox-
system, you're not. So you won't answer the epistemic question, will you?
because it's irrelevant. It has nothing.
No,
to
your
do.
whole system rests on this epistemology.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
System
So
rests on
you don't
that.
have to justify your
Moscow doesn't agree with Chieti. Okay. It's not a document that we hold to in the church. I mean, like if there's people that like disagreed with it, then so what?
epistemology.
People can have opinions, Abe. I promise. People are allowed to have opinions.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean. You don't have to give an account for your epistemic justification for when
my
and
God.
when the principle is applied to
I don't
know when
look, look, I don't.
how,
I don't.
what
need,
is your
look,
epistemic justification for when the Pope is wrong and right?
Like
how
this
do you know?
Orthodox- Dude, listen. I don't need to give.
Yeah,
an
you don't
epi-
have to give an account. That's
Wait,
why your
wait,
position
hold
is
on, hold on,
garbage,
hold on,
dude.
hold on.
Because you
Wait,
guys won't give an account for your epistemology.
Because we're not talking. Look. because
I'm
we're not
asking
talking
you the
about
epistemic question. I
epistemology.
know
We're
you
not
don't
talking
want to go there. I'm asking you that.
epistemic- epistemology here. We're not talking about.
I'm
we're
asking
talking
that though.
about Chalcedon.
I am talking
We're
about
talking
that.
about Chalcedon.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Abe. By the way, Rokor is not Moscow. Just so you're aware. Didn't know if you knew that.
On the
I'm
Maximus
They're not the same diocese.
talking about
Rokor is under it, but there's metropolitans that specifically like actually form, I guess, what would you say, opinions about Rokor rather than he's Rokor, not Moscow Patriarchate by itself.
which you
Waterboard at Bryce J. What?
cannot deal
your
with.
argument
answer
rests.
the
Listen,
objection.
your
Why
argument
did
rests
Leo
on
why
your
did
dude. Shut up, or I'm just going to block
outside
you.
of his jurisdiction?
Your
The
argument
concession
rests
said
on the
that he
papacy being
only
wrong. You
counts.
just said
Why?
the Pope's
Answer
wrong.
the question.
You said the Pope's
Answer
wrong.
the question.
You said the Pope is
Answer the
wrong.
question. Why are you running?
You're smarter than the Pope, so I want to know
Why
the
are you
epistemic
running?
principle.
Why are you running? Address Maximus.
Yes, the Dominus session does give a lot of context to this argument. I agree.
of Antioch.
I'm asking you what your question presupposes. The
Oh my
justification.
goodness.
Your argument rests on a certain epistemology that's not justified. So I want to know how I figure out when the Pope is wrong and right. How do I know?
Wait, hold on. How does the Chieti document
So,
affect
two
Vatican?
quote-
How does that affect Chalcedon?
Is there any more discussing, or is there
It's
just talking
admitting
over
my
each other?
interpretation.
It's not admitting your
You
interpretation.
just said you don't accept it, so it is. So now you're lying.
don't
You
accept
said
it
you don't
because
accept. You just
historically
said you don't accept
because
Chieti.
because we
Did you say
because-
that? Did you say you don't accept Chieti?
I did say that. Yes.
Yeah. So now you're lying because you're admitting that it's an argument. What
Because
I'm saying.
look, wait, hold on, look, and I'll tell you
So
why.
now, so you admit that, didn't
I'll
you?
tell you why I don't accept it. Wait.
So
Look,
you said
for
the
one,
papacy is
wait,
it wrong?
Wait, hold on.
You said it's not reliable.
Wait,
and the
hold
Pope-
on.
No, I'm
For
not holding
one-
on because
for
now
one,
you caught in
the
a lie.
Orthodox position.
You're caught in a lie.
admits it. That
Tu
the
quoque.
Orthodox position.
Now you're doing a
admits
tu quoque because
the
you got caught in a
document
lie.
does not represent the Catholic position.
What is the
The
epistemology?
encyclical of the Eastern Patriarchs.
What is
even
the
admits it,
epistemology?
that
I don't
that the
care about
apostolic
none of that.
jurisdiction of the Pope
What's
was
your
only the West
epistemology?
and it could not have extended to the
You
East.
can't
But
give a
yet you're running
justification.
from the
Hey,
objection. of
when
Maximus
is the Pope right and wrong?
Because you
No,
know
you're.
if the-
I don't.
with
You don't
your
have an
higher-
objection.
Okay, Talon, is this all that's left of this? Is it just like the? Is that all that remains?
Because you're
So
smarter
just
than the
answer simple
papacy.
question on Maximus
You
of
don't
Antioch.
have an objection because it's rests
I
on a
brought forth
stupid
my objection. We're
epistemology.
talking about epistemics here, which is completely irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant if your
It is
argument rests on
irrelevant.
it. Your argument rests on that. You
No,
don't
it does,
understand
because-
that?
Dude, well, okay, so me giving an account on Universal Media, just you already
didn't give an
know
account.
what
You gave
that
an
is. I don't need to
interpretation.
give my justification.
I
for
gave
this.
you a rival interpretation.
All I need to do is define my.
I gave you a rival interpretation, and you said the papacy is wrong in Chieti.
That's not what I said.
It is what you said. Now you're lying
No,
again.
no. Because
All right, you
why?
can't. So this is
why
why
did
you're a
your-
liar.
Why did your-
Hey,
wait,
let's talk about unum sanctum. What about the temporal supremacy?
Wait, hold on, no. Let's talk
Oh,
about.
you don't want to
Calvin.
go there, do you?
Why are you running?
I'm.
saying, Calvin.
You've run from 3 questions I asked you. You
No, I
liar.
didn't. You brought up irrelevant points.
Chieti's not irrelevant. It trumps you.
It is irrelevant.
You're a
because it
layman,
does-
dummy.
Because look, wait.
You're a
hold on, let me-
layman. Chieti
I-
trumps
I'll
you.
explain.
You said
I'll
the
explain.
Pope is wrong.
No, wait, I'll explain.
No, you
I'll
won't.
explain. The reason why I don't accept Chieti, and even your Orthodox
that
position
doesn't
said it
matter.
represent our position. So now what? You're in shambles. You busted the Orthodox Church. You busted the Orthodox
Dude, you
Church.
failed
Your
miserably
Orthodox
because
bishop
you
said
can't
that
justify
represents
any
our
of your
position.
claims.
You busted the Orthodox Church. How do you feel?
Let's go to
You,
epistemology.
now,
Nobody's
how do
buying
you
your
feel?
bullshit,
How
dude.
do
You
you
have
feel?
a
You put
gay
the
pope.
bishops under the bus.
You
How
have
do
a
you feel?
giant gay papacy. What are you talking
Like,
about?
oh, so now
Nobody
you're
wants your
insulting.
gay
Your
church.
bishops admitted that.
Oh shit, dude. Oh boy. Ugh. Man. You busted the Orthodox Church.
That the Chieti documents is not our official position. Now what? You just busted your bishops. Throw your bishops
You just... Yo, stop saying that shit.
under the bus.
It doesn't matter. I don't have an
It doesn't
infallible
matter.
autocrat. It
Now it
doesn't matter.
doesn't
No, it
matter. You
doesn't.
can throw your bishops
I
under
have
the bus anytime you
flexibility in the
want.
Orthodox system that you don't have.
Like, this is embarrassing. This is
You
embarrassing.
don't have.
You can throw your bishops
Listen,
under the bus.
you're crap.
You stuttered and you had multiple voice cracks, so you lost that debate. Hold on. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that slow. You ready?
I don't have
It
an
doesn't
infallible
matter.
autocrat.
Now it
Doesn't
doesn't
No, it
matter. You
doesn't.
can throw your bishops
I have
under the bus
flexibility
anytime you
in
want.
the Orthodox system that you don't have.
Like, this is embarrassing.
This is embarrassing. Oh man. I love you, Talon. It's all good, bro.
This is
You don't have.
You can throw your bishops
Listen,
under the
you're
bus. How do you feel?
cracking up, dude.
Oh, I missed the good one. Hold on. That was a good one. Let me get that one too.
It doesn't matter.
Autocrat.
Now it
Doesn't
doesn't
No, it
matter. You
doesn't.
can throw your bishops
I have
under the bus
flexibility
anytime
in
you
the
want.
Orthodox system that you don't have.
Like, this is embarrassing. This is
You
embarrassing.
don't have.
You can throw your bishops under
Listen,
the bus. How do
you're
you feel?
cracking up, dude. You're
How do
melting
you
down.
feel?
You
How
don't
do you
even
feel?
know
You threw your
how to.
bishops under the bus.
You can't tell me what the principle is to identify when
Wait,
the Pope
hold
is
on.
right and when he's
You
wrong.
just
When he's
threw your
wrong.
bishops under the bus. How
What
do you
is the principle to identify when the Pope is
Wait,
Yeah, that shit sounds funny at 0.5, bro.
right and wrong?
well, hold on.
Oh, so you don't know?
How do you feel? You
What
threw
is
your
the
bishops under
principle?
the bus because your
What
bishops
is
admit
the
that the Chieti
principle?
document is not our
What
official
is
position. Now
so?
what?
This is why
Now
you
what?
can't handle Chieti. That's why you cracked up. What's the
Your Orthodox
epistemic
bishops
principle?
admitted that's not our
What
position.
is the epistemic principle?
Look,
Bryce, could you call into a show by a guy that calls himself the Son of Man? We're all sons of men, bro. We're also sons of God. Amen.
I already
You don't have
told-
one. Exactly.
I already
So
told
you don't have one.
I-
You don't
I
have
already-
one. It's arbitrary. You're a Protestant papist.
Oh,
Okay. There we go. So, I got a slick little answer from Chalcedon. Well, what if we give a different interpretation according to Chieti? Chieti don't count. The papacy is wrong.
Dude, Rogue's releasing in Marvel Rivals, bro. I'm so excited. Heck yeah. All right. Yeah, that didn't really go anywhere. But kudos to Talon for going up there at least. But that was yeah, Jay's got that southern drawl. Yeah, that's what yeah, exactly. He's got that southern drawl. You a Protestant papist. He has an actual following in Mississippi. He's going to go live at 8. What? He has a following of people that actually think that he's the son of, like, the Son of Man. What's up, Taz? How you doing, man? Bro. That's crazy, man. Dude. Somebody message Jesusandwhatnot and tell him to re-upload his Orthodox refutation video, bro. Because I have footage of it. Because he deleted it. But I wasn't able I wasn't able to actually watch it. He took it down because Jay called him out. Jay called him out? Yeah, the only evidence I have of it existing is this here. Let's take a look at it, all right? So we're going to have to steal Alex Soren's. We're going to have to steal Alex Soren's video because he's pretty much the only person I can find that actually still has this recorded before it got deleted. Dang, he tagged Jay Dyer. He did hashtag Jay Dyer, bro. He did hashtag Jay Dyer for the video title, or for the tags, dude.
Within this video,
And Vatican II says we have valid sacraments. Bam, refuted.
I love Alex, bro.
Also, Vatican, believe what your count.
one true God.
There is one God. The essence is this very active existing ipsum esse subsistens.
Okay, that's not binding on us. So God's essence is very, yeah, so this is pure act.
The energies are his single divine action, God acting outside of himself in creation, providence, grace, and sanctification. They are not a separate reality from his one divine essence, but the same simple God acting act ad extra. The energies of God, I include truth, justice, and will. Okay. Seeing if I can grab like the love of God is the essence of God, because 1 John 4:8 says God is love. Refuted. Boom. Orthodoxy dismantled. Dismantled. The truth is the essence. Because Jesus says, I am the truth. I'm so freaking mad that this video doesn't exist, bro. I would have did a whole thing on this. I'm so mad. Yeah. Dude. Oh my gosh, bro. All right. Refuted the Palamite Synods with one slide. GG's. Yeah, bro. The Eastern heretical view. In God, there is a real distinction between God's essence and energy. They reject that the essence of God is love and that the essence of God is truth. No, we just don't believe that the primary terminology for it would be the essence, that it would just be the energies as the first referent. I mean, it's not like what? Like you can know of the essence if you know of the energies being love and truth. That's ridiculous. Oh boy. Essence energies distinction came from Gregory Palamas. No, it didn't. Shown as explicitly, especially in the Cappadocian Fathers. St. Basil, letter 234. Go read it. Very simple.
The essence and energy.
It comes.
What Palamas learned from the monks. No, this video doesn't exist anymore, apocryphal, actually. He deleted this video. Jesusandwhatnot deleted this one. He saw some of them using breathing techniques to enhance the rhythm of their prayer. He began to speak to them and ask what they thought they were doing, and they began to tell him more and speak about uncreated light that they saw while meditating in hesychastic prayer. Okay. By the way, he didn't learn that from the monks. He did it himself, by the way. It's one of his recent lives where he reacts to Canon and Creed and Jesusandwhatnot. He didn't just learn that from the monks. He did it himself. He was a hesychast. The claim of the monks believe that by fixing one's gaze on one's navel and resting one's chin on one's breast, one can make breathing coincide with the repetition of prayer and see the divine energies. Yeah, it's hesychasm. What is actually heretical about the act of trying to control your breathing while praying? That's dumb to like think that there's something actually wrong with doing that. A breathing technique that slows your heart rate, that slows and basically clears your mind. They always try to say, people will try to make claims all the time that like, oh, this just shows like Buddhist practices or like Hindu practices, but it's not something that actually reflects that, because in like the Hindu and the Buddhist traditions, you do these specific breathing techniques to make it to where you have absolutely nothing at all in your mind, to where it's completely clear of everything. In our view, it's to make it to where we fix one's gaze upon God, to where that's the only thing that is within your mind, which is something that's very simple understanding of meditation in a general sense. Not even in a religious meditation, but just in a general sense of clearing your mind of everything else that could possibly come into your head in some way, shape, or form. Octavian33 for $2. Thank you very much. Says, check Andrew Wilson versus Gabriel Huddleston on Gospel Truth. Oh boy, that sounds entertaining. Human Polemos on assessing the divine light. Human nature has been deified by union with the Word. Whoever then purifies his soul and keeps his body temperate may truly contemplate the light shining forth from God, not by his own nature, but by grace. And though it surpasses all created light, it is nonetheless uncreated. Yeah, based. Polemos apparently falls into heresy because of this, after accepting these hesychastic traditions that are eerily similar to pagan meditation. There it is. Told you. Told you that was going to be the thing. Polemos fell into heresy. Polemos claimed that the energy... And by the way, hesychasm was already happening long before him. Go read St. Simeon the New Theologian. He was literally doing it. He was doing that exact prayer. And you can actually look at people like St. John Chrysostom and a couple others that were very deep into describing prayer, where they talk about things in a very similar manner to hesychasm. So that's like ridiculous to think that somehow this is like some pagan tradition. I mean, pre-schism people were doing this. So like that's kind of dumb. Yeah, exactly. St. Dionysius actually talks about it, I think, a little bit. I can't remember what work it is. I don't think it's the Divine Names. I think it's something else. This means that there is an uncreated existence that is not the essence of God. We don't think that the energies of God are another existence or a separate existence or something like that. It's not like another materia or not another thing. Like, not even Jay would affirm that, and Jay doesn't even use scholastic language. So that doesn't even make any sense. Pure blasphemy, apparently, is because the essence of God is the only uncreated existence. Wow, dude.
It's
Good thing you removed this. Polemos' heretical teaching accepted by orthodoxy. If it was Gregory's achievement to set hesychasm on a firm dogmatic basis by integrating it into Orthodox theology as a whole, his teaching was confirmed by two councils that were held in 1341 and 1351, which although local and not ecumenical, possess a doctrinal authority in Orthodox theology scarcely inferior to the 7 general councils themselves. Yep. Because they're pan-Orthodox, so they were accepted by everyone over time. So it was something that all of the patriarchates eventually implemented into their practices and implemented into their teaching. So it's sometimes there are people that can call it an ecumenical council. There's nothing wrong with saying that it's an ecumenical council by itself, just because of the fact that like it is something that is accepted by every single Orthodox Christian. But it's not properly an ecumenical council because it wasn't called by an emperor or blah blah blah.
Have the now of the energy.
Hamas is heretical.
The
Orthodox theology as a whole. His teaching was confirmed by two councils held at Constantinople in 1341 and 1351, which, although local and not ecumenical, possess a doctrinal authority in Orthodox theology scarcely inferior to the 7 general councils themselves.
I think I just noticed now that Jade, but it was always there.
The energy of God.
Claims the essence of God is not the energy of God. Yeah, in a sense. GG's. Claims the essence of God is absolutely unapproachable and unknowable, and that no one will ever see God's essence. Yeah, that's pretty much like the universal teaching for the pre-schism. I mean, like, I have like 1,000 quotes that I can freaking give on that topic. I can even give stuff like that for St. Augustine, dude. Like, holy moly. Nobody can see God, according to Polemos. Polemos claimed no single thing has or ever will seen the slightest communion with the supreme nature. This directly contradicts 2 Peter 1:4. Man. Oh boy. When you conflate the proper term of nature with essence, that's what happens. You think that nature is something that only purports to the essence. That's goober mentality. That is goober theology. Was my name in there? Yes. Somebody said, have a chat with Bryce. You see that right there? Hold on, wait, let me see it. Like, somebody literally freaking put in the comments and said, have a chat with Bryce. Yeah, that's goober. That's gooberology, bro.
That's the thing. Jay is in his comments, you guys said? Cool ChatGPT script, sued. You want to come debate? Thanks.
That's funny. Yeah, W Nathan, bro. I've been constantly calling him out and constantly trying to say, hey, let's have a conversation. And if you guys wanted to send him the live, I would gladly have a conversation about this topic. But this is like, oh. Palamas later falls into polytheism. God is entirely present in each of his divine energies. Yes. He teaches that the energies are God. He also teaches that the essence is God. However, he thinks that the energies are not the essence. That is heresy. Okay. Let me go ahead and put it like this. No, this is not me saying that the energies are persons. I'm not going to be making that argument here. But when we say that the Father is God and that the Holy Spirit is God and that the Son is God, but the Holy Spirit is not the Father and the Father is not the Son, that doesn't equal polytheism. That shows material identity. That's material identity. They're all materially identical. The essence and the energies are materially identical. Brother, I can see why you deleted this. Palamas claims that they're two gods. Brother. Time to wrap it up, put the kids to sleep, and go to bed immediately. You talking to me, bro? Have you seen this video? Have you seen this video that Jesusandwhatnot made? I mean, it's like the biggest straw man ever.
For him, the way.
I'm just saying it because you're an old man. My kids are already asleep. To be fair, my kids are already asleep. But yes, I do yawn a lot like an old man. I do that a lot on my streams.
Protestants use.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Where's the next one here? Palamas' teaching contradicts Cyril. For being life according to the nature as God, he is himself evidently wisdom and power. Again, bro. So let's... So Saint Cyril, right? What did he say? What did he think that nature was? He didn't think that this would be physis, right? Right. There's nothing wrong with the way that he purported the word nature to mean essence and energies. It's not the same thing as ousia. That's definitely Saint Cyril of Jerusalem, by the way. That's freaking Saint Cyril of Jerusalem. And I'm like 99% sure that's a monastery's icon, a monastery icon's icon. That's Cyril of Jerusalem, bro. That's Saint Cyril of Jerusalem. That's not Saint Cyril of Alexandria. Palamas in the Orthodox Church. I hate people that do that, bro. Those people are so annoying when they do that. Palamas in the Orthodox Church believe God is not identical to his attributes or energies, and the super essential essence of God is thus not to be identified with the energies, even with those without beginning. She says in the triads, this directly contradicts what the Bible tells us because God is love and God is truth. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because like the way that he has the slides set up, it seems like he has ChatGPT on this. It seems like ChatGPT. Like the way that like it's formatted. Orthodoxy collapses. If anyone does not confess one power and authority as one Godhead, let one be anathema. Canon 1 of Constantinople 2, that refutes orthodoxy. Chat, are we for real? You don't think we affirm that there's one power, one overall power, one energy? There's a proper way to say that there's one energy of God. Bryce J versus Peter Diamond. I would just, dude, I'm not going to lie to you. If I debated Peter Diamond, I would probably just mock his voice. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like, I would be like, here, Peter Diamond actually affirms a position that is considered heretical. As you can see, he is a demon. He's possessed by a demon. We can see here very clearly that as he makes his arguments, it seems that he is possessed by a demon. I just use his rhetoric, bro. Like, his rhetoric is like top tier. Polemos claims that in God there's essence and then there's something different from it, the energies, both of which are God. Polemos believes in a divided God. Brother. Looking deeper into orthodoxy, first book to start with, The Exposition of the Orthodox Faith by St. John of Damascus. Book 1 specifically. That's the best one to start with. Brother. Polemos is teaching uncreated existence. There exists then an eternal light other than the divine essence. This is blatant heresy, and there's nothing uncreated that is not the essence of God. All things that were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. I don't even like I pull out the context hat, Unc. Yeah, I know. Exactly. Bro. The light formally is not the divine essence, all right? It really is not the divine essence, but it's considered a formality of the essence in a proper, I guess you want to call it scholastic term. So we don't deny that it's literally another thing that is not still materially the essence. It's so bad, bro. Holy moly. Polemos on essence being greater than the energies. His essence which exceeds even his uncreated energies, since the essence transcends all affirmation and all negation. Congratulations, you just condemned St. Dionysius and the Cappadocians. Thinking that that is a heretical statement. Whoa, big cat. You see the cat? Dang, dude. Wait, did you say he's doing a part 2 right now? Oh, dude, he is.
That was crashing out on Twitter. He was like totally losing it,
My
dude.
message.
Yo, Alex in the house. And guess what, guys? I downloaded the Brave browser, so I don't have to keep on giving 12 cents to Miles every 2-3 minutes.
Make sure you guys, by the way, make sure you guys support my boy Alex Soren here, man. He's awesome.
Thanks for being here after court. It's my pleasure, man. It's how I unwind. We had a good day today, actually. I cut a deal, got somebody out of a lot of trouble, and probably got them something more than reasonable for themselves, so it's good. Just watched the Jesus and Whatnot thing from your stream because I had no way to watch it. Yeah, dog. He took it down. He took it down. Bryce in the house, guys. By the way, give Bryce a like and a follow. Subscribe on YouTube.
Subscribe.
Bryce is the up-and-coming philosophy bro.
Oh, thank you.
So you guys want like the in-depth metaphysical arguments, like Bryce is the man for that. He's
Thank you very much.
Up-and-coming philosophy bro for sure. Also, he like took over a TikTok. It was insanely bad. Yeah, I kind of wish I would have played the whole thing. Contemporary Compendium with 5 memberships, dude. Thank you.
I like him. I love Alex. Good guy. Your lectures are fire. I just finished watching Trinitarian Metaphysics. Heck yeah, man. I'm glad you like it. I want to make more of those. I want to make more of those lectures. I just don't know. I don't know what to do next. People keep telling me to do a diophysitism one, but I might bring Abdul Masih on for that. Yo, Bryce, did you see the list? What list? Which list? What list are you talking about, bro? Let me put the thing back up while I'm waiting on something else. The Dyer list? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that there's parishes that are trying to say don't watch Jay Dyer. That's pretty funny. It's funny too because they're not even actually against Jay because of like his theology. They're against him because of the fact that he has political takes, and so you shouldn't watch him because of that. Your lectures made me a heretic. You're lying. You're lying, bro. The list of mean guys. Yeah, it's the list. It's the list of mean people. Thankfully, I'm not near known enough, so I don't have to worry about getting told that. And I'm insanely pious, bro. See, I'm incredibly humble. You can see how I proved how humble and pious that I am when I was on the stream with Mario and Cleve. See, I proved it. Jay put my priest on the list. Oh, that's tough, man. That's tough. So no Orthodox Christian wants to talk Jewish Kabbalah beginning to take advantage of our church fathers. What are you talking about, bro? I saw you had that 5,000 knot prayer rope. Yeah, dude. 5,000 knots, bro. That would like drag across the floor. What's up, man?
It's not really on topic, but I was wondering if you want to join me on my trip to Jerusalem on a flying donkey.
On a flying donkey?
Yeah, me and Momo got the next stop.
Yeah, that's a reference to a hadith, isn't it? Isn't it? His name is like Safur or something, right?
Yeah, we have one more seat, and I think you'll be a great part of our group.
Is it the back of the donkey or the front of the donkey though? Because I'm not riding caboose.
You gotta get the ass, bro.
I'm not riding caboose on a donkey, bro. You got me tripping right now.
Okay, wait, no, really. Could you dissect the Trinity from an Orthodox perspective?
What do you mean dissect it? What specifically?
Do you hold to Miaphysitism?
No.
No.
I'm Eastern Orthodox.
Oh, you're Eastern Orthodox?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, could you
Chalcedon is base, brother.
Could you demonstrate how you explain the Trinity to someone who might not understand it?
I mean, like, it's really hard to like explain the Trinity in a proper manner to somebody who may not understand it at all. It kind of depends on like how smart that person is at the end of the day. Because like if it's somebody who has no idea how to like describe philosophy, it's going to be very difficult. Like very, very difficult.
Do you like the analogy that Saint Spiridon uses?
You'd have to read it to me. I'd have to see it. I haven't read his analogy.
It's about he uses the terracotta roof tile.
No, I haven't seen that. I'd have to look at it.
So he's I think he's confronting some doubters or heretics, right? And basically he holds up the terracotta roof tile that he brought with him.
Oops, sorry. Sorry, Nathan with the $5. Thank you very much. He says this is for the Jerusalem trip. Appreciate that, bro. Sorry, somebody sent me a super chat for the Jerusalem trip.
Oh, perfect. Let's go kiss the wall.
Yeah, man.
So he holds up the roof tile and he says, in the name of the Father, right? When he says in the name of the Father, fire comes out from the top of the tile. And he says, and in the name of the Son, and then water comes out from
Oh,
the...
Saint Spirit and the Wonder Worker from Nicaea.
Yes.
Yes. No, I thought you were
do you
talking
think-
about like spirit. Like, are you a Miaphysite? I'm sorry.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I do completely accept the logical the logicality of the Trinity, right?
Yeah. You're
I don't
talking.
see it
Yeah.
as-
So you're talking about Saint Spirit and the Wonder Worker as in the one who performed the miracle at Nicaea.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love that analogy. It worked really well, and miracle backed it up too. That was the best part.
Wait, he said terracotta color is it's just a color. I thought a terracotta was the material. No?
Hold on.
Maybe it is. But I thought terracotta was of the type of clay.
It's type of clay, bro.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just looked that up, dude. Apocryphal, dude. Can I get an L in the chat for apocryphal, please?
L apocryphal.
L apocryphal, bro.
You just got mugged by a low IQ, whatever I am. Okay. Yeah. So when he holds up, he says, "In the name of the Father, the fire comes out. Then in the name of the Son, water comes out the bottom." And then he says, "And in the name of the Holy Spirit." And then he opens his hand, right, and it's in dust. So what I'm thinking of this, I don't actually. Maybe I should have looked into this. But do you think that the terracotta is made up of high temperature water and clay, as in the form of the powdered clay? Do you think that's how he came to that analogy?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it was mostly like, it was a miracle, right? At the end of the day, like it was a miracle that occurred at the council. And so it's hard to kind of like explain exactly what, yeah, it's not, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless you can do the miracle, don't ever use the analogy. Yeah. That's probably the best way to do it, right? I would suggest the sun analogy for the Trinity that was used by the Cappadocians. Okay.
Can you explain that for me?
Yeah, the Cappadocians at Constantinople I actually utilized an analogy of the sun, or the sun, the ball in the sky sun,
Okay.
where the actual ball or the sun itself is God the Father, and the light of that sun is Jesus the Son, and then the heat of that light and the sun itself is the Holy Spirit.
Ah, that's a good one.
It's a pretty easy way to show it, and it shows that they're not a different essence from each other. They're still all the sun at the end of the day. And they cannot be separated from each other either.
When people use the analogy of water, H2O, sorry, right? That falls into modalism, right?
Yeah. When you're talking about the three forms that water turns into, yeah, that's modalism. That's heretical understanding.
Yeah. When that, could you kind of explain how that is modalism? Sorry, my English is not very good, so I'm trying to learn it in English so I can demonstrate it.
Yeah, it's considered modalism because when it talks about water, it's saying that the singular referent water can become three different things, meaning that there would be one thing that's water and that at different times or different points of reality, it is different things, which is more like modalism rather than the actual Trinity, because in the Trinity, all three persons are 100% the same thing at the same time, always. But the water doesn't work that way. Water, when it is ice, is no longer a liquid. Water, when it is, when it's vapor, is no longer ice. And it's no longer, right, just water by itself. So it falls into a modalistic view.
I see. Okay. God bless you, bro.
Yeah,
I
God
just
bless,
have one
man.
more questions. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Yep, bye. What's up, man?
Testing. Can you hear me?
What's going on?
What's up? This is Moses, by the way. But I was curious, because you hold to SCOTUS formal distinction, right?
No. The formal
What's
actual
that?
distinction
What
is not a scotistic formal distinction.
like you believe that there's a formal distinction that is extramental or is like ex naturare?
Yeah, even if we affirm that there's formalities in God that hold to those, we don't hold to all of the baggage that SCOTUS holds to. Like, for
Yeah,
example, we
I
don't have
know.
a clear
Like
position on
he believes
univocity
that.
of being or anything like that.
So do you just leave it at the level of person and essence? Because I know he believes like attributes are even formally distinguished.
No, I mean, like, we can say that the energies are as well. It's just like when it comes to like the intricacies of like what actually determines something as a formality, it's different in orthodoxy. Because like in our view, technically speaking, you could still say that we hold to like analogy of being to a degree, rather than univocity of being, because we discover the truth in these attributes based off of the fact that we possess the nous, which isn't exactly a univocity, because we don't discover it just by pure intellection, where we're able to just know that love is the same in God as it is with us, and that's how we know it truly, which is not exactly the same thing. As well
So
as the
similar
fact that
to
we
the
participate.
Monophysites, when they're talking about when they're talking about your light news, we'll be able to distinguish the formalities of the one composition, like the one object.
Kind of. I don't know if I would say that it's fully like the Miaphysites, because they also hold more of like a hard SCOTUS distinction with theirs, because they actually do like really appreciate SCOTUS for what he did. Now, granted, some of our theologians did as well. I mean, Saint Mark of Ephesus actually said that the Franks were good in their general Trinitarian theology when it comes to like formal constituents and things like that, but there's some degree where it does delineate or where it is distinct, like participation, for example. Like, we believe that we can participate in these formalities that we're talking about when we're talking about the attributes. The SCOTUS would say that we're not participating directly in the formalities. We'd be participating in something created that points to a formality, which is not the same.
Right. My next question was, do you hold to because I know like when it comes to theories of cognition, those theories of like Scotus in his adverbial theory of cognition and Aquinas with his like act object theory of cognition are going to be very important to processions. And I was reading Scotus in book 1 of his Ordinatio, Distinction 2, when he's talking about the divine processions. Do you hold to his kind of view?
No. The Orthodox Church doesn't really hold to the psychological analogy the way that he does. I mean, we do believe that the psychological analogy is orthodox, like at its root, like the way that Saint Augustine puts it. But the way that the Scotus basically try to apply like fecundity as something that the Son possesses and things like that, due to him being intellection, we wouldn't hold that. So there's also differences there.
So would it be more like Aquinas when it comes to your theory of cognition?
We would just say that, like, if we're talking about cognition and the Trinity, that we don't hold that it actually represents properly the processions of God, because of the fact that it actually is going against the Cappadocian notion of it applying modality or an understanding to the processions directly, which we can't do.
Maybe
in their
like
view, they can.
analogically.
You can do it possibly in an analogical way, but it doesn't actually determine like the metaphysical truth of how that procession works. So it kind of falls flat if you try to. Well, so like using it, for example, to prove that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son is where it would fall apart, because you'd have to basically show that then, even if you use something as an analogy, that it directly purports to the way that the subsistence of the Holy Spirit is derived, which wouldn't work in our view.
So is it strictly because it doesn't work, or because the analogy?
No, it's because the analogy, like Saint Gregory Nazianzen, for example, like he says that like if you apply like any kind of proper analogy to the processions of the Spirit, or to the procession of the Spirit or the generation of the Son, that you'll be frenzy-stricken prying into the mysteries of God. So we wouldn't say that it actually purports to the reality of God itself. Rather, it's just something that we can use to explain it to possibly a layman or something like that. Because that's the point of why St. Augustine made the psychological analogy in the first place in De Trinitate, Book 3, I think it is. Because St. Augustine was the first person to actually apply a psychological analogy to the Trinity.
Yeah. I'm familiar with his view. He would say like there's going to be a natural faculty that's presented within an intellectual, like an intelligible object, and then you have an intellect that understands the object automatically, and that's kind of the same way that it would be. That it would understand any other intelligible object. And then Aquinas like adds extra steps to that, essentially. and says the Son is like going to be the terminus of the act of intellection.
Yeah, no, I have like official like quotations like from our church fathers that do like verbatimly deny that the psychological analogy on its own right actually determines the processions of God. Like they're very serious on saying that like that's not something that will directly, actually hilariously enough, I have it in my document here that's called Refutation of the Scotus Argument for the Filioque. Hold on, because it's something that I've addressed before, is they attempt to actually use the psychological analogy to apply fecundity to the Son, to make it to where if the fecundity is not terminated.
At lol dude 6745 super chatted $5. I want to speak with you and discuss. How can I do so?
You're welcome to come up on TikTok, man. It's at Bryce J Official. If you want to come up on TikTok, I'll gladly bring you up here. I gotta find it real quick. It's in my heaping pile of documents that are schizophrenically organized.
Yeah, no worries. Do you believe the will and the intellect are formally distinct?
In God?
In God.
I would say that if you're only applying them to like the formal constituent of the Son and the Spirit, and then analogically applying it to the psychological analogy, sure. I mean, like you could say that like obviously the formal constituent of the Son and the formal constituent of the Holy Spirit as reference would be formally distinct from each other. Okay. So like sonship and procession would be formally distinct from each other insofar as the actual name or formality that is applied to the hypostasis.
Okay. So I want to make sure, like, so you do, because I don't want to like.
Yeah, we don't, like I said, we don't hold to the psychological analogy, like as in it determines the actual reality of the processions by itself. Let me read a couple of these here. So St. Gennadios Scholarios says in Tome 2, it's in his work called On Scotus's Doctrine, he says, "For they say that since the Father by reason of causality has the energy of the generative power of both intellect and will first, and at that first point the same generative power which is in the Father is shared with the Son, because at that point of causality in which the Son proceeds through the generative power of intellect, it is shared with him from the Father unless it is something at variance with it." So that's like him explaining Scotus here. And then he also says... right here, that this foundation of Scotus, though it seems more appropriate than the former, is no less dangerous itself and full of much ambiguity, and this is evident from here. First, we have not heard from any of the esteemed teachers about the two generative powers in the Father arranged as they arrange them. Rather, the holy Dionysius speaks of one generative power, saying, on the divine names, then he quotes divine names.
Well, I think that would be against Scotus, because, but I don't know if that would be against all psychological, because Scotus, in his book 1 of Ordinatio, Distinction 2, Pars 2, he talks about how there's like a partial source of the Son's emanation. And it would be in virtue of the fact that the Father is formally distinguished from the essence. He says that all of this, the intellect having an actually intelligible object present to it, has the nature or the ratio of a perfected memory in first actuality, or immediate readiness to issue in an act. And this memory is namely the immediate source of the second actuality, or the operation or activity in of begotten knowledge. But in this source, that is the memory, two items concur that make up one total source, specifically the divine essence as the intelligible object in the intellect. And each of these on its own is a sort of partial source with respect to the adequate production of this entire source.
Yeah, no, like this work specifically called On Scotus's Doctrine is him refuting like the way that Scotus uses a psychological analogy is ambiguous and dangerous to the Trinity.
Well, yeah, like I would agree. And there's like scholastics like Francis of Marquia that refute Scotus on that. But I don't think that eliminates all of the psychological models.
It doesn't eliminate all the psychological models. I mean, Gennadios says in the same work on section 3, he says, "But where it is explicitly mentioned in Scripture thus, or what is even more sought, the love of the Father and the Son, neither does the blessed Augustine have to show, but deduces this. This is then praiseworthy for him alone, and one must remember that those posited about the teachers at the beginning of this Constitution. Perhaps even the demonstration of the mystery of the Trinity from the image within us. For those wishing to explain everything by their human reasoning, he discovered that device very well and aptly. But to draw that analogy to the present or any proposition is not very necessary for those following the beaten and royal road in divine doctrines.
Okay.
So I mean,
So-
our general position, and like I have a lot more quotes on this, but like Synchonaudios is kind of like the main guy to go to for that, because like he addresses specifically how we hold to St. Augustine in a very particular manner, and also talks about the other psychological analogies that were derived from the West afterwards and how they cause other issues.
So what would be the closest thing to a procession?
Well, I mean, a procession, like if you're talking about just a procession in general, or?
Like for God?
I mean, like I would say that that's honestly one of the things that the fathers very clearly concede is like a mystery at the end of the day, other than what has been specifically revealed in the scriptures. So I mean, whatever has been specifically revealed in the scriptures is what we hold to, as Saint Ambrose would say. It's not exactly like it doesn't apply directly to some kind of philosophical notion or a psychological notion that we can then directly apply to the way that the Trinity works, because that kind of is prying into the mystery from that.
Okay. But, I mean, like I said, I know Scotus kind of went so far as to claim that the divine intellect and the essence were each a sort of quasi-partial source. Would you say that too?
I'd probably not. No, I probably wouldn't say that.
Okay. So if it's the one source, if it's just the one source, then I don't understand where's the formal distinction.
Are you asking like, because if there's one form, I mean, the one formal source would be like the formal, are you asking me like the formal constituent of the Father? And like,
Yeah,
what
this
it would-
is like an objection that Francis of Marquia asked in his book, one of his Scripturum, Distinction 27, when he's actually critiquing Scotus. He says, from what has been said, I conclude a corollary that the divine word does not proceed through an act of the intellect, nor the Holy Spirit through an act of the will. And since neither of these two powers is formally in God, but both produce persons proceed through an act or third characteristic or ratio, divine essence.
we wouldn't say that like intellection and volition and those types of things on their own right are formalities, right? Because a formality is something that's directly in God, right? So like that would be something that's directly seen within him, and the formalities themselves, or those wouldn't be considered proper formalities in our view. They would just be considered, honestly, like I would go so far to say as they may be virtualities, but nothing more
Yeah,
than that.
no, like that's the point. So like that's actually what Francis Marquia it kind of embraces. He says there's a metaphorical understanding of the psychological model.
Yep.
And he's actually more in agreement with the Dominican tradition. So, but the Dominicans, they reject the Scotus formal distinction.
Yeah, I mean, like we don't reject like the formal distinction entirely. We usually just won't call it like a formal distinction, because it is different from the things that Scotus talked about in order to come to the conclusion of the formal distinction. That's why we usually just don't say it's a formal distinction, because it is more than that. There's more of a participation that is direct, rather than something that is just something that can be described in God. Rather, we would say that we also participate in these things that we're talking about. But I was trying to think what I was going to say. I was going to say something actually important to that. In our view, I can kind of just describe it like this: we're okay with formal constituents. We'll say that the Father's formal constituent is principle or fecundity. So you can say that it's either of those things, and then you can say that the notion of paternity and active spiration are virtually distinct from each other in that one formality, in that one formal constituent of the Father. And then
that's the Thomistic position, though.
I mean, that position by itself is fine as long as it's not something that concludes to the Filioque, because then when you go to they actually believe that paternity is that paternity by itself is active spiration, so they just call it paternity. But in their view, obviously, they believe that active spiration is something that is actually given to the Son, which is where we have problems, because we obviously don't believe that, and also that leads into other issues where if you say that they're virtually distinct from each other, then obviously you have to say to a degree that the Son possesses paternity, which is absolutely ridiculous. But like like in our view, it would be principle or fecundity, and then you can say that paternity and active spiration are within it as virtualities; they'd be virtually distinct from each other. And then the Son would possess sonship based off of the fact that he's begotten, and then the act of begetting and the act of procession would be considered formally and actually distinct from each other, or you can just say really distinct, depending on the tradition that you're using. And then they would apply a more proper real distinction towards the actual terminus or the effects of those acts, which would be the persons themselves. So it's kind of like an unfolding of reality to a degree.
Yeah, and I get that, but the reason why I said that is like, and I was also reading John Peckham in his sentences as well. He does a really good commentary on Aquinas, but the way he puts it is that the same relation or paternity is the first constitutive form, and then you have generative power, and then third exists as the act of generation, and then finally as relation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I could say that, and that's kind of what I described. It's like you talk about the formal constituent first of the Father, which then denotes two acts, right? Two processions that exist in different manners, which then formally constitute the other two persons as possessing two different formal constituents, which then in that case you can draw a distinction between the Son and the Spirit based off of the fact that the Son possesses sonship and the Spirit does not.
So you believe that paternity... I just want to make sure that I'm hearing this correctly. So you interpret Aquinas like Peckham, such that you're going to have this one same relation, paternity, both precede and to follow the very same act of generation.
No, I wouldn't say that paternity is something that applies into active spiration by itself, because we would say that the formal constituent of the Father would be principle or fecundity, or just the ability to produce a person in general.
No. That's what I mean. Like paternity would be constitutive property that precedes generation, and that generation then precedes the very same paternity, and that is what's considered as a relation.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about it from like the kind of like what you said with like active generation, passive generation, active spiration, passive spiration, like things like that can be properly denoted in the persons. We just don't believe that the Son in any way, shape, or form actually receives that same fecundity that the Father possesses. And so then therefore the Holy Spirit would not proceed from the Son because of that.
Okay. And you hold like innascibility is like not only like a negative meaning of not generated, but it also is like primity, because that's also what Peckham. This is interesting.
You gotta have to disambiguate those terms.
Like John Peckham's view. That's really weird.
I don't know what innacity means.
No, innascibility.
Oh, innascibility, is that?
Yeah, it means that he's from no one. Yeah.
Oh, from no one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the Father would be considered the only one that possesses that.
Interesting. So, but according to, like Peckham, whenever something is innascible, it means it has aptitude to actively generate, and on that account, the innascibility of person would make that person apt to like elicit the active generation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, interesting. So the Father is the Father because he generates, and he generates on the basis of innascibility as like some primity.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to think now, when you've heard of the proto-father thing before, right? Or like have you heard of that before?
No.
Okay. So what Peckham also kind of accepts is that since acts come only from distinct individuals, the property of primity must give some being to the paternal hypostasis, which would be what he calls the proto-father before it actually takes its full being as the Father on the basis of active generation of the Son. Would you accept that?
I don't know about that one. No, I don't really know about that
that's
one.
Also
I'd have to
what
look more.
Bonaventure holds to.
I'd have to look more into that, but I don't know about that one. That's a little much.
But you believe that innascibility suffices to constitute a person?
Yeah, just because that's just the Cappadocian position. Like the fact that the Father is unoriginate is what makes him the cause in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How does that not follow, though? That the property of primity has to give some being to a paternal hypostasis before it takes the full being in the Father. on the basis of active generation.
I mean, like if you want to say like, because like I don't really know if like you can apply logical priority or logical posteriority. To it, 'cause
That's what I'm getting into. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to apply something like that because like kind of like how I've described like many times when I'm talking to people is that like I mean I could say that the Father is logically prior to the Son. You know what I mean? Just in general, because but at the same time, it's also not very good, and it's not also not a very good idea to say that properly, because
but that's what like John Peckham, he actually openly accepts that in his sentences. He says,
I don't know about that one. I feel like that kind of subordinates the Spirit a little bit.
That's why, and some people are like curious and why I say like it's not like explicit Arianism, and Joshua Situati actually talks about this in his paper too. But that for me is where it starts to get subordination kind of slips in when you have the logical priority of the person.
Yeah, but that kind of that kind of stuff is the fruits of trying to justify the Filioque. That's the big issue. Like that's the fruits of trying to actually justify.
John Peckham really quick, so I don't forget. He says a person can be understood in two ways: having the divine nature as either communicable or as communicated. In other words, as having divine nature with an aptitude to communicating, or as having it with reference to some habitude or accompanying the act of communication. In the first way, the paternal hypostasis, which is what I was calling the proto-father.
What denomination is John Peckham?
He's in the Dominican tradition, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about. I don't know about the logical priority thing in like terms of how the Father must cause the Son in order to be the Father in general. Like I don't like language like that. I feel like it just it confuses and creates a lot of problems, right? Because then then you have to apply the Holy Spirit to it, and then you have to sit there and be like, okay, but then is the Father because he produces the Spirit? Like that's the reason why that like the formal constituent of the Father is principle or fecundity, because the Spirit would still fall under that. So I wouldn't.
That's the only thing. I mean, if you agree up until this point, obviously you don't want to bite the bullet on that. But the last part is the part where I mean, obviously you're going to disagree, but I just don't see how it follows if you agree up until this point, because what he says is, in the first way, the paternal hypostasis. When I was talking about like the proto father, the logic father as considered logically prior, is constituted by the property of innascibility, which is incommunicable property and has been seen. But I don't understand, like, if you agree up until this point, how would that not follow?
Follow what? Like that the Spirit would be subordinated, or?
Well, the Son and the Spirit.
Because the aseity of the Father in general, or?
Well, no, I mean, obviously there's going to be, he's going to communicate those things, but there's still, the Father would still be logically prior.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you have, like, a logical priority of the Father to the Son and the Spirit being neither logically prior to each other, right, I wouldn't really see how that, like, somehow subordinates them by nature.
Well, yeah, because if something's more fundamental than something else, right, and also you have, like, a relational reference, like Peckham believes that there's a relational reference to some habitude and what completes then, like, that dignity of the Father as a person, then I don't understand how that's.
I mean, even if something was like, just for the sake of the, even for like the sake of the argument, like if I were like, I'm not saying that I affirm or deny this specifically, like, because I don't know the language that's being used here very well, but like, even if I were to say that for the sake of the argument that the Father is like more fundamental in terms of the fact that he has to cause the Son and the Spirit in order for the Son and the Spirit to exist, that doesn't change the fact that if he communicates the divine nature equally and fully to the Son and the Spirit, it doesn't subordinate them automatically because of that. Because then they would still possess the same equal and full divine nature as the Father would anyway.
No. Like, I understand he communicates the essence. Or you're just saying he communicates the essence? Like, I get that.
Yeah, but then at that point, then he wouldn't be subordinated by nature then.
Yeah, but the Son's nature, but like, if you believe the Son is identical to that nature, then the Father is still prior to the Son.
If you want to say that he's prior to the Son hypostatically, that doesn't affect like the priority of like them possessing the essence. I don't really understand like how that would like subordinate him in turn, because like subordination as it being a heresy is based off of the fact that he's subordinated insofar as the fact that he possesses a lesser nature. So if we were to say that like he's logically prior hypostatically, then I mean it wouldn't change anything about the nature.
The nature of the Father? Like I get that.
The nature of the
Yeah,
Father?
I wouldn't mention
like,
anything about the nature of the Father. But the Son is still less because he's more fundamental to the Son. Or he's more less fundamental than the Father.
Again, I wouldn't see how that makes him less fundamental, because in order for the Father to be the Father, he still must cause the Son. So then therefore the Son would still hold a fundamentality to make the Father who he is.
Yeah, but the cause here would be like a formal, it would actually be like a formal cause if the essence is involved. But I mean, you're rejecting the essence thing, but that's kind of what will follow the formal distinction of SCOTUS. But if it's not,
I already said that we hold to like formal constituents, but we're talking about something in a psychological manner. It's not the same. We don't hold to the psychological, like the psychological analogy being proper formalities of God.
Right. But if the primity is the starting point of the Father's distinction, because it gives like this hypostatical Father, the proto-Father, enough being to be the Father's full distinction to come about, then prior to the Son, that means prior to the Son's constitutive formal property, he wasn't a being yet.
Yeah, but with this view in mind, wouldn't you say that the Father wouldn't be a being until he causes the Son?
No. That's only logical with the Father. It's like actually.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be an actual prior to the Father in any sense.
No. That's what I'm saying. Primity is just the starting point of the Father's distinction, but it's not the starting point of the Father because he's inacible.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the Son, he's not only distinct, but he's also produced.
Okay.
That's the issue that I'm having here.
It produced as in what? Like generated by begetting?
Yeah, generated, but yes.
Yeah, I still don't understand how like a generation, like a hypostatic procession in some way, shape, or form by generation would somehow subordinate him by nature. I don't.
Well, he's ontologically prior to the Son at that point.
I mean, there wouldn't be an ontological priority just because of the fact that the Father is somebody who is without an origin. Because the Father, no matter what, necessarily would cause the Son and necessarily cause the Spirit.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying necessarily because of that. But I'm saying if you agree up until this point, you agree that there's a paternal hypostasis that is constituted by the property of inacibility, and that's the emanational property. And the Son is not a Son until he has his personal property.
Yeah, which all of this occurs eternally, so that's why there wouldn't be an actual before.
No. That's like the Son would just be eternally becoming a being, kind of like the Kalam in what's that? The Salafia tradition. Like the Kalam is eternally created. It's like modally necessary, but it's not necessary in itself.
I'm not really following.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I believe that's a Salafi tradition or some. Yeah, where you have the Kalam that's created eternally, but it's not necessary in itself. It's not inacible.
The Son is absolutely necessary in order for God's nature to be what it is.
In himself?
By nature, the Father must cause the Son.
Now I'm saying, is the Son necessary in himself?
I mean, we wouldn't even say that the Father by himself is just necessary without him causing the Son and the Spirit. So I'm not really sure.
No, I'm saying, is the Father necessary in himself?
Again, you're saying in of himself, but what do you mean when we're talking?
That's what
about...
I mean by inacibility. Nothing else grounds his essence. Nothing else grounds his existence.
I mean, you could say that something
now,
that
inacibility
that also
grounds his distinction, his relational distinction.
I mean, if you're
There's
saying
an emanational distinction.
Yeah, if you're saying like hypostatically, if you're talking about like just hypostatically, then like if I were to say that the Father is logically prior in that case, then it wouldn't mean anything about the Son and the Spirit being lesser. I don't.
No. So what I'm saying is that, and I get what I'm trying to think of how to say this, because I don't want you to feel like I'm strawmanning you. I get there. You're saying there's like some counterfactual dependence here. Is that what you're getting at?
I'm not sure that if I would use that word. We don't usually use those words, but I mean, you have to describe like what you mean by that.
Yeah. So typically, like if you read David, I can send you after this conversation a book by David Lewis, but it's a statement about that would be the case if something else were otherwise. That's essentially what counterfactuals are. So there's an emanational distinction on its own. Counterfactually, what suffice for constituting a divine hypostasis. Would you agree with that?
Say that again.
Like there's the emanational distinction is going to be indispensable, such that there's counterfactual dependency between the father and the son, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if I would use counterfactual dependency because it's just not something that we normally would use for the terminology. But
interesting. But you agree, so you already agreed the father is technically logically prior, but you don't like the terminology?
Hypostatically, sure. Whatever.
Yeah, but if you believe a person is just a bundle of properties, like Branson, like Rob Branson actually states that, and then he quotes Basil's Epistle 2:16, 2:36. He says like they're a bundle of idioma, which he says is analogous to a trope.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to go help my wife with something. Hold on.
No problem.
I guess yeah. We'll go ahead and continue this conversation though, because I'm probably going to be gone for like 5-10 minutes. But
no worries.
I'm going to do that real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. God bless.
Yeah, God bless. Sorry. Be right back, guys. My kid apparently needs to be cleaned up real quick. So give me just a minute. Give me like 5 minutes, okay? Guess something happened. Okay, I'm back. How's it going, y'all? Sorry about that. I want to find something good to react to, bro. Something good. Oh, my kid, we co-sleep with our 1-year-old, and I guess she pooped, and but she was also latched at the same time, so my wife couldn't change her because she had no free ability to move around and do that. That's kind of how that works. Oh, I know what I wanted to watch. You guys will like this. So this is somebody named Misunderstandy, and he has a video called "The True History of Jesus." I'm gonna stand up for a little bit. I need to wake up a little bit more. Take this off for a while. I think I'm good. Rise up. Rise up. So this is something, and my kids had stomach bugs over the weekend. Was it Saturday? I think it was Saturday. My 4-year-old had terrible vomiting. Terrible vomiting. Constant, bro. Just ridiculous. Over and over and over. I've been wanting to react to this. I've avoided watching it. I just watched the Talon versus Dyer thing. It wasn't really that entertaining, in my opinion. It didn't really go anywhere. But yeah, this is something called The True History of Jesus, and this guy apparently is going to explain how Jesus became who he is. Dyer versus Justin. Oh yeah, I said I was gonna watch that, huh? Okay, we'll get through a little bit of this and then we'll do that.
Hi. You know Jesus? Christ, I mean. We count our years around him. Jesus is the most famous human to have ever existed. So much so that pretty much everyone in the world, Christian or otherwise, will recognize an image of Jesus, the man who preached about forgiveness, talked to leopards, and was literally God. But what if I told you almost everything you know about him is completely a lie and never actually happened? Here, we'll go through what history has to say about Jesus. Not the divine being according to Christians, but the man according to history.
Oh, dude, the freaking, bro. That image, bro. Every time people use that freaking image, it just blows my mind. You should look up how they actually came to the conclusion that he looked like that. It's quite funny. Very baseless.
And how he slowly but surely became God. Because it didn't start like that. Looking at the history
Yes, it did.
of Jesus is a little bit hard because we don't have any historical proof that Jesus even existed. No body, no tomb, no personal belonging.
We do have the tomb, by the way.
No.
And we have multiple personal belongings of him. We literally freaking, there's some people that have his, there's I think a museum that has his garb. Like one of his, I think his tunic. One of his tunics. And then we also have the Shroud of Turin. We even have the Crown of Thorns. A lot of stuff. It's a lie. Oh, and we have pieces of the True Cross. So, that's not true.
Jesus is a little bit hard because we don't have any historical proof that Jesus even existed. No body, no tomb, no personal belongings.
Yeah, we have the tomb.
No
So,
dead
I'm not
tumbler.
sure. No body? There's a reason for that.
There's nothing proving that Jesus actually existed in our history. Nothing besides the Gospels and a couple of other writings. But most of those writings are religious writings, not.
What do you think, bro? They're considered religious writings because of the fact that they write about something supernatural automatically. You can't discredit them just because of that. That's such a dumb way to argue.
Chronologies of the life of Jesus. And the bad
Not the chronology of the life of Jesus? Yes, we do. The Gospels are literally that.
thing about Gospels is that they constantly contradict each other.
Oh, gosh. Wow. That's the level we're at? That's the level that we're at today?
Let's start from the beginning. Gospels, when was Jesus born?
Before Herod died in 4 BCE.
During the census in 6 CE.
I didn't even write any of that.
In the beginning, whatever that means.
Wow. Okay, so first off, Matthew and Luke had two different ways that they actually determined time, by the way. So that's why the dates are different.
That's mainly because there have always been loads of stories about Jesus. The longer Jesus was dead, the more interpretations we have of him. The Gospel of Judas won't help us find out historical information about Jesus because it's from over 200 years after Jesus died. All Gospels
What?
we have of him. The Gospel of Judas won't help us find out historical information about Jesus because it's from over 200 years after Jesus died. All Gospels, canonical or otherwise, are like a snapshot, not of Jesus, but of what people of the time thought about Jesus.
No, it's not. They're literally, bro, they're literally people writing down what they witnessed while they were with Jesus. That's stupid. That's not even actually true. That's not what the Gospels actually were. You literally can just simply just open up your freaking Bible and look at the New Testament and look at the Gospels. They very clearly are teaching what they witnessed, what they saw, not just what they thought or heard.
Before the Gospels were written down, all of these stories were shared orally. And since legends and myths are just stories that were shared orally for so long that they became nothing like what originally happened, the less time we get between the death of Jesus and the writing of a gospel, the more historically accurate it should be as a rule of thumb. That's a bit of an issue because even our earliest gospel, Mark, was written over 30 years after Jesus died.
Lie. That's a lie. You know why? Because you can actually see is Mark's one of them that has the temple prophecy, right? Because if it does, that means that it has to be prior to 70 AD. Very simple.
Followed by Matthew, then Luke, and then John, the suspiciously latest gospel written almost a generation after Jesus existed. We don't even
A whole generation. It's 70 years, bro. Chill.
know who wrote them because the names of the gospels are not the names of the authors. They
Yep. That's why we have people that came directly after these apostles that are able to attest to it. That's why you can read the disciples of the apostles. You can read their works. You can see what they said very clearly about what they learned. That tradition existed from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century. The names of the Gospels were constantly used.
are just the names that were assigned to them to just differentiate them from other gospels because
No, they weren't. That's not even true. Like, think of it like this. Notice how most of the Gnostic Gospels, right, they used really well-known names, especially in this time. Right? The Gospel of Peter, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Judas, right? All of the names that are big in the canonical texts, that are within the canonical texts, and how the names of the people that are in the actual Gospels themselves. Ooh.
Coda 3590 super chatted $5. He didn't bring up Jesus' trip to Hyperborea. Very disappointed.
I agreed. Yeah, I agree. He should have brought that up. I would have started to believe him. I'm not going to lie. But notice how all of the Gnostic Gospels, they take names that everybody had known by the time that they were written pretty clearly. Matthew, Mark, and Luke especially. Maybe John, that I can concede was a pretty well-known name because he was a consistent theologian who was constantly writing to the churches and things like that. Okay? But Matthew, Mark, and Luke were mostly unknown names. They weren't known very much. So if they were trying to basically just assign names to try to like build a case or something like that, they would be using names that are bigger. They wouldn't be using names that most people didn't know. That's because of the fact that the tradition actually was able to keep the tradition and know who it was.
what we know for a fact is that during the times of Jesus, the Jews were frustrated. You see, back then, if you wanted to worship the Israelite God, you had to do what everyone did when they worshiped their own gods. You had to go to their temple. And the Jews were looking for a solution.
This is the worst things have ever been. This has to mean the end of the world. We need to figure out how to worship Yahweh without the temple. Worship a god without a temple. What's next? No animal sacrifices?
That's stupid. They think that people in the first century made up all of the messianic prophecies? Is this dude brain dead? He thinks that all the Jews just got together around the first century and just started making up stories right then and there. You know that we have like manuscripts of the entire book of Isaiah, right? That predate Christ by hundreds of years. Like, the messianic prophecies existed long before Jesus came.
That's woke shit, and you know it.
Guys, there's this man preaching about baptism and forgiving sins down the river. I'm sure if we made a gospel right now, he would forever be called the greatest man who ever lived. He's our Messiah, who will free us.
Is he looking for disciples?
He already has some, yes, but he's still looking. He has a bit of a hard time because he's preaching about the end of the world.
I knew it! What's his name?
Daniel preached about the end of the world. Isaiah preached about the end of the world. This is dumb, bro. This is insane.
I don't know. Something starting with a J. He's a new guy.
Jesus, I knew you were coming.
Jesus? That's not me. My name is John, the baptizing person. Jesus is my disciple over here. Look,
Okay, this has to be rage bait. He never once says that he's his disciple. There's no way that this is a real video, bro. But it is, though, because I looked at this dude's page. He's dead serious about this stuff.
We don't really know what happened during most of the life of Jesus, since the gospel narrative skips from the birth of Jesus till his baptism. But doesn't that sound like his life almost started when he got baptized by John? Remember, John was new.
Is he seriously making a case that John the Baptist, like, created the whole narrative?
Because he was baptizing people to forgive their sins. Why would Jesus, God himself and his own son, need forgiveness? And the weird part is that the older the gospel, the less...
That has nothing to do with the Gospels, by the way. Like, just thinking that it's just illogical that God would send his son to die for our sins and forgive us, that has nothing to do with the actual argument, dude.
Important his baptism becomes.
Jesus got baptized by John, who was the one before Jesus and who baptized people to forgive sin.
No, Jesus...
Because he's prophesied about all over the Old Testament. John the Baptist is all over the Old Testament.
Was baptized by John, but John at least recognized that Jesus was superior.
Scholars think that Jesus was a disciple of St. John the Baptist, so he wasn't rage baiting. Bro.
And Jesus
What?
called John the greatest man who ever lived. Make of that what you will.
Of course he was superior to John. John was merely the older cousin of Jesus, and there were even miracles around both their births because they were both really important. That's why Jesus...
Yeah, because they're prophesied about in the Old Testament, you dunce.
Says that John is the greatest man who ever lived.
I ain't even listening to baptism at all. John the Baptist was just a witness who said Jesus was the right Messiah, and that's it. The Baptist...
That's because of the fact that John the Apostle himself wasn't doing much of the genealogy. He wasn't doing much of the specific events in detail the way that Mark and Matthew were doing it. Because that wasn't the point of John's gospel. John's gospel was strictly theological in nature. It was talking about the overall cosmic and universal aspects to all of the problems, to everything that happened. It was a lot more on that. Okay.
Baptism of Jesus by John, the guy who did baptisms, is a constant...
Tiny Science, you do not know what you're talking about, by the way. That's a dumb freaking, I think it's a transitivity problem with the Trinity? What is that?
In 3 out of 4 Gospels. So if we assume Jesus was real, then this probably happened to him. The further you go back in time, the more open Jesus seems to be about following John. That's why some...
Oh, he actually thinks this.
Experts believe Jesus was not just a follower of John, but one of his most important disciples. So
Okay, first off, he put Bart Ehrman up there. Bart Ehrman does not believe that. Bart Ehrman doesn't even believe that. That's so dumb. He just threw a known scholar in there for his image. Like, he didn't even like. I don't think he did any research on this. Also excluded middle and non-contradiction problem. Yeah, you don't understand the Trinity at all there, Tiny Science. You need to go read a book.
All important that when John gets out of the picture, Jesus is the one to take his place, telling people to get baptized in this new way that John had invented and forgiven sins like
Invented? Dude, it's a typology to the things that occurred in the Old Testament. Oh my
John
gosh.
used to do it. Kind of like a priest who forgives sins in the confessionary and trains a new priest to do the same. But that's not where the similarities end, because John was an apocalyptic priest who preached about the end of the world and believed that it was imminent. And that...
Bro, I can't watch this anymore. This is the worst freaking thing I've ever seen. I don't even know what to do right now. This is so bad. When did Justin debate Jay Dyer? When did that happen? I want to see that. I legitimately, I just can't, I can't watch that. It's so bad.
Against the church.
Where is the debate? It was with his 2v2. What are you talking about? Jay Dyer fails at supporting tag. Okay, bro. Yeah, apocryphal. Where's it at in here? Is it in this video or is it in the previous? All right, he's gonna find it. Can you support tag? Yeah. I have about 90 premises demonstrating the impossibility of the contrary. Do you want it? Bryce genuinely in his room just making up the best way for a concession. Yeah, dude. For real. Is it an all available worldviews in comparison? Yep. It is. That's what the impossibility of the contrary means. It's a paper that I'm writing alongside a couple others. Yo, Unc, what you think about this flag? I mean, cool beans, bro. You can like that if you'd like. Send it to the Discord. Thank you. The Discord, like, what, in chat? General chat? Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. This is a year ago, dude. I wanted the debate. I wanted the debate with freaking Justin, bro. He debated him on the Filioque. This is Jake the Muslim Metaphysician. I don't know what that is. I want to find it. Saw it on TikTok too. Hold on. I can find it on TikTok. It was uploaded out there. That's how like I saw that it existed. I think it's this one. No, it's not that one.
I had an argument for.
Oh, here we go. I found it. Boom. When's my next debate? It's on the 13th. It's with Ben Thorpe, and it is on If the Filioque Way is True. It's going to be on Wi-Fi Gospels channel.
Anyone who rejects the Filioque will just basically be a reductio ad absurdum. So I have one to bestow to you. I want to see if you can respond to it. So premise one is, if one were to lack a hypostatic property, which is proper to them, then they lack the inner life of the Trinity. Premise two.
Hold on.
The Son lacks. One is, if one were to lack a hypostatic property, which is proper to them, then they lack the inner life of the Trinity.
If any person lacks a personal property.
Premise two. The response to it is, if one were to lack a hypostatic property, which is proper to them, then they lack the inner life of the Trinity.
Okay. If any person lacks a personal property, then they lack the inner life.
Premise two. The Son lacks a hypostatic property which is proper to him, i.e., the act aspiration.
Wait, what? The Son lacks the hypostatic property of active spiration. Active spiration is a personal property?
Conclusion. Therefore, the Son lacks the inner life of the Trinity. So it
Dude, are we dead ass? Dude, he said active spiration is a hypostatic property. Are we serious? Do you know what happens if you affirm that in the Roman Catholic view that active spiration is a personal property? First off, there's not a single father on the planet in the first millennia that would think that you can say that two persons of the Trinity can possess an identical personal property. They took down Jim Bob's live on Nick/Pierce today. Oh, dang it. William Gregory for the $2. Thank you very much for that, man. Brother, this is insane to affirm. If you think that active spiration in the Roman Catholic view, I don't even think this is the common view in Roman Catholicism. I'm not gonna say that this is the Roman Catholic view. I don't think it is. If you try to make the argument that active spiration is a personal property or a hypostatic property, like, this is bad, dude. Personal properties are incommunicable. That's an axiom in every single church father. There's no church father that would ever think that active spiration. First off, active spiration, by the way, that's an act. That's a freaking act. Dude.
would be the responses.
I think you're confusing terms. The Son's property is not the spiration of the Spirit. Where did you get that?
Yeah, good. Good way to put that.
It will be due to the intellectual acts, like
due to the intellectual acts. Here we go.
basically the imminent activities which are within God. is why he's going to have hypostatic
Yeah,
properties.
they're not intellectual acts. So first of all, that's a mistaken Thomistic model.
So you don't believe the persons are constituted by intellectual acts?
No.
So then what are they?
Yeah, no, they're not. Like literally not even St. Augustine actually believes that the persons are constituted by intellection. They're not actually formally constituted by that. The formal constituent of paternity does not equal the same formality as saying that that the Father is the mind and that the Son is the intellection and the Spirit is volition. Those are not actual formal constituents in the persons. Those aren't actually in the persons. Like, nobody affirms that. Not even St. Augustine thinks that. He believed that the psychological analogy was an analogy. Analogy. If you say that they're formally constituted by them, then you're saying that it's not an analogy. That you're saying that it's then a formality of the person itself. That's not an analogy at that point. You're saying that the Son literally is constituted by intellection. That's insane.
Constituted by
hypostatic properties.
Those stem from intellectual acts.
How does God have how many?
Bro, this is
How many minds does God have?
He has one. That's an error.
Okay, so how are
do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to like just blow past this. People on YouTube and people on TikTok. Do you understand why this is an insane thing to hold to? Yeah, I just want to make sure before I move on. Because I don't think people like actually understand the seriousness to holding something like this. I mean, this is like, first off, this is extremely anti-patristic. This is ridiculously anti-patristic. This is bad.
are those intellectual acts that God has one?
I could explain, yeah. So these were going to be intellectual acts because these are principles of the imminent activities. So hypostatic properties such as...
How do you know that?
I'm about to explain. Because
how do you know that to be the case?
Well, there's two reasons. One is because of divine revelation, and two,
Where does divine revelation say
Can you please let me
intellectual acts?
Can you please let me finish so I could explain?
No, you're not
For
going
one.
to blow past. Where does
I'm
divine revelation say that?
Divine revelation about the divine Trinity? Like what?
Where does it say that they're intellectual acts?
The intellectual acts. This is what I was going to say in post 2. You're not letting me speak.
It say that
Oh my
in
gosh.
divine revelation?
Please let me speak so I can tell you. Literally, I'm telling you, one, I know of this divine Trinity because of the divine revelation, and two,
where in divine revelation?
Oh my god.
Divine revelation doesn't even make the argument that freaking the Son and the Spirit are constituted by intellectual names. I mean, that's stupid. Like, brother. The Son is formally constituted by sonship. Okay? Sonship by itself is not intellection. Those aren't identical to each other. Intellection specifically refers to something in the psyche. It's a psychological analogy. Formal constituents in the persons don't, like, those are actually in God. Those are truly in God. They're of the thing itself. You're saying that the Son and the Spirit actually possess formal constituents that determine the psychological analogy. You go against every father. St. Augustine would freaking flip his lid at holding to that. If it's an analogy, then it's not something that actually purports to reality by itself. So how can it be an actual formality?
Stop interrupting so I could tell you.
Lying.
I'm not lying. Just stop interrupting me. I didn't. Just let me finish. It's not that hard.
Repeated yourself.
You're just making this more hard. Just wait. Now, two, the reason why I know of intellectual acts is because of St. Augustine's
Where
analogy.
in divine revelation? You didn't say.
Oh my gosh, this guy's trolling me. I'm going to repeat myself
No,
again.
you're full of shit. You have no clue what you're talking about.
I mean, that's not a response to what I said. You're just
Where
saying
in
that.
divine revelation is it?
I just told you.
Where?
Dude,
Where?
stop speak. Dude, I
don't have
clarified
an
what I
argument. You
meant.
just
I said
failed.
intellectual
Where
acts
in
is from
divine
two.
revelation is intellectual acts.
All right, yeah, this guy's like obviously.
You don't have an argument. You just got.
I already gave you my argument. You didn't respond to it.
Where in Revelation?
Notice how you're not responding
Cite
to
a
it.
text.
Dude, oh my gosh.
Oh
the
my
two
God, dude.
things.
Oh.
I mean, it's like any text, not even just divine revelation. Like, I'll just say define a single text from the fathers, from Revelation, from anything. that says that the persons are actually formally constituted by intellection and volition. Not even St. Augustine holds that. He believes that it's an analogy. You cannot say that a formal constituent is just an analogy. A formal constituent is actually in the res. It's in the thing itself. If it's simply just an analogy using the human psyche, then you're saying that our human psyche is univocal to God's. Wow, dude.
The two things. Look, stop moaning. Listen, the two things which I
just say stop moaning.
Told you.
Where in Revelation? You said that 10 times. Where?
I said in divine revelation, I know of the Trinity, not of intellectual acts. I said the
divine
Trinity.
revelation is scripture and tradition, right?
I said I know of the Trinity. Through
Yeah, did you hold on? Yeah, Zay, look at this. Look at this syllogism that Justin made. If any person lacks a personal property, then they lack the inner life of the Trinity. The Son lacks the hypostatic property of active spiration. Therefore, the Son lacks the inner life of the Trinity. And he uses the psychological analogy as justification for this. First off, he said active spiration is a personal property, which is just hilarious.
divine revelation. Please
Where
listen. Open your ears.
In divine revelation, is there a reference to divine intellectual acts?
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's just straw manning. He's just straw manning. I said I know the Trinity through Scripture, not intellectual acts. That was two.
Bro, if two persons of the Trinity possess the same personal property, they are one. They're then one person. That's just an axiom, bro. Like in all of the fathers. Personal properties are incommunicable.
That was point two I was bringing up.
You said divine revelation. Where?
Yeah, and I literally clarified that. Stop harping on this. Let's actually progress.
Where is this proof for this position?
Let's progress.
It's a Thomistic argument.
Okay, listen. I said
You don't
for
have
the
an
last time.
argument.
I
You're
do.
done.
I already
You're
did. Yeah,
You're
you
done.
suck.
You said, yep, you suck at the end. Nice. Brutal, bro. Brutal. I'm going to upload that as a separate review video because that was, oh my goodness gracious. There's no way. People were like low-key telling me to watch that. Telling me that it would be fun to watch. Bro, that was the worst freaking syllogism for the Filioque I've ever seen in my life. He blunders the Catholic position. He literally blunders the Catholic position. They don't even believe that active spiration is a personal property. Because they can't believe that, because the fathers unanimously deny that personal properties are incommunicable. Even St. Augustine denies that. St. Augustine even says that personal properties are incommunicable. And he said that active spiration was a personal property and that the Son also has to possess it? Oh my goodness. What a horrible syllogism for the Filioque, bro. That's heresy to the Catholic position. And I think the Catholic position itself is heresy, but like, good Lord, bro. Like that was... Yeah, it collapses the Son and the Father. Exactly. That's exactly what happened with that. That's ridiculous. Does this mean that the Father and the Son have to have passive spiration? Honestly, I think that they could probably just concede that. Like, I thank you for the paper crane, brother. I think that they could just concede that, and I don't even think they'd care. I mean, granted, I don't think this is the Catholic position. I don't think it's the Roman Catholic position at all. Because the Roman Catholic position, if I remember correctly, active spiration is a notional property. It's something that's of the essence that's utilized by the persons, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that's the Roman Catholic position, which allows them to make the argument kind of better. But saying that it's a personal property is crazy. Have we confirmed that this guy is confirmed? I don't think so. I don't know if he's confirmed or not. I'm not going to make claims if he is or not. But either way, the argument is shit. It's completely shit. My mind is blown. That's the worst thing I've seen today. And I was just watching a video of somebody saying that Jesus was a disciple of St. John the Baptist. That was crazy. Good Lord, bro. There's no way. Any thoughts on Mormonism? Bad. You guys believe in it? Well, not you guys. I don't know if you're Mormon. But they believe in an infinite regress of gods. That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to affirm. Gosh. Like ruin my life. Oh, specifically the metaphysics? Yeah, they believe in an infinite regress of gods, bro. Like they believe that the Father used to be a man. And then the Father as man became God, and then basically has people that are then under him. And then these people have the ability to basically become God to a degree. And that before when the Father was a man, he also had a father as well. And it's like an infinite regress of just gods, like over and over and over. Well, the Father was a man, and the Father man had a father prior to him, and then that one was also a man, and then it repeats over and over. I'm a catalytic converter. Do you mean Catholic convert? What? Ooh, that would make sense in the order of Melchizedek. What? Sorry, I guess I don't know the context behind that. I'm making a joke, catechumen. Oh, okay. He said, dang, brother is made of platinum. Yeah, exactly. Oh, brother. The infinite regress thing? Yeah. I wouldn't say that it really applies to the order of Melchizedek, but I understand your point to a degree now. I'm talking about the Mormons, though. The Mormons think that the Father used to be a man and that he became God from his Father, and it repeats infinitely. Melchizedek would have came before Jesus. Not exactly. Because even though that he's without genealogy, Melchizedek is still created. Jesus is not created, therefore Jesus is prior to Melchizedek. Have you heard the Mormons who say that the church died and then resurrected like Christ? I mean, I haven't heard that argument, but I don't really understand. Like that sounds like they're just trying to do the great apostasy thing, but like in a more complicated manner. It just sounds like a more complicated version of that. What's going on, Aftershock? I see you in here, man. I've talked to you before. How's it going? The infinite regress is from Smith's last sermon, the Sermon in the Grove. Yes. Yeah, that was what I read that from. Yeah, the Sermon in the Grove. And they hold that as authoritative, right? Because it was from the prophet. It was from their prophet, so they would hold to it, right? Yeah, they say that's why a great apostasy is necessary. I mean, I don't know. I think that's kind of a dumb argument. Because like Christ resurrected from the dead so that we may resurrect from the dead. It doesn't mean that the church must resurrect from the dead, like as an institution. It doesn't say anywhere in there's nothing in the scriptures that states that the institution itself must resurrect. The institution itself must be, it must be everlasting. Let me up. You are not currently requesting. It's on Bryce J Official's TikTok. You can request over there. Oh, dude, the chosen show is filming the crucifixion now, guys. Man, that's gonna be tough, bro. That's gonna be tough to watch. Sorry, guys. I like The Chosen. I think it's a great show. I know that some people don't like it, but I think it's a great show. Very emotional. I've cried a couple times to it. And they're filming the crucifixion now. If you know about it, it's authoritative. It's kind of like chewed gum under your desk. If you don't know about it, everything is okay. That's funny. I like that analogy. That's kind of funny. I like that. God bless Sylv. How's it going? Alrighty, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a little bit early today because I'm very tired. I don't have too much going on anyway. I'm chilling. I watched a couple streams, had a couple little tiny debates. Today was good, nice and wholesome. Wasn't crazy. I didn't have to yell at anybody. But yeah, I appreciate the stream. Appreciate you guys supporting me as always. I'll go ahead and catch you guys later, man. Appreciate it.